Greetings, 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 brothers and sisters. Greetings, greetings. Happy Sabbath, happy Shabbat to all the Sabbath keepers. We are back today with another lesson. Today's lesson is the 400 years of Genesis 15, talking about Egypt or America. We are Israel, the Lord's vineyard. My name is Brother Moses. My reader today is Sister Shanique. And we thank you for joining us. So please, brothers and sisters, if you could like, subscribe, and share, like, subscribe, and share. We teach the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, Jesus Christ being the chief cornerstone. We teach by subject and title. But like always, we're going to open up with the law, and then we're going to come back. We're going to open up with the law. We always open with the law. In Exodus 20. Mr. Shanique, when you get it, it's on you.
All right, Exodus 21 to 17. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image of any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. We are going to move on to Revelation 22, verses 14 and 15. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter into the gates into the city. For without are dogs and sorcerers and whoremongers and murderers and idolaters, and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie. Now moving on to Ecclesiastes. It's Ecclesiastes 12, verses 13 and 14. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
All right, brothers and sisters. These are the laws we read every time we come on the platform. These laws are not done away with. Brothers and sisters, don't let no one tell you that these laws are no good, because a lot of preachers, they will tell you that we don't have to keep these laws. Anyone that is telling you that you don't have to keep these laws, brothers and sisters, they are trying to rob you of your salvation. And we always said, brothers and sisters, don't let no one steal your crown. With that being said, again, happy Sabbath, happy Shabbat to all the Sabbath keepers. And we hope that you are having a blessed day. So, again, we teach by subject and title. Today's title is the 400 years of Genesis 15, talking about America or Egypt. Because reason why I brought this lesson is, have this title is, I've heard that couple of people, well, I heard many people saying that, well, especially our people mostly. I hear saying that this 400 years is here in America. But what we're going to do, we're going to go to the scriptures and we're going to see if indeed that the 400 years is talking about, or is it talking about in the past in Egypt. So what we're going to do, hold on. This is the flyer, brothers and sisters. This is the info for the platform. You can take note, you can share it, friends and family. We're going to start by doing a little reading. So, can you see the reading on the?
I gotta zoom in. Yes.
These I can I don't think I could alter it because of it how it is.
That's fine.
Okay. Oh. Yeah, I can't alter it. Ready? You can go ahead.
Hundreds of thousands of Africans, both free and enslaved, aided the establishment and survival of colonies in the Americas and the New World. However, many consider a significant starting point to slavery in America to be 1619, when the privateer, the White Lion, brought 20 enslaved Africans ashore in the British colony of Jamestown, Virginia. The crew had seized the Africans from the Portuguese slave ship São João Batista. Throughout the 17th century, European settlers in North America turned to enslaved Africans as a cheaper, more plentiful labor source than indentured servants, who were mostly poor Europeans. Though it is impossible to give accurate figures, some historians have estimated that 6 to 7 million enslaved people were imported to the New World during the 18th century alone, depriving the African continent of some of its healthiest and ablest men and women.
So this is when we have the account that the slave trade actually started in 1619. Actually, August 1619. Go ahead.
Indentured servants. In the early years of the Chesapeake colonies, Virginia and Maryland, colonial officials found it difficult to attract and retain laborers under the harsh frontier conditions, and there was a high mortality rate. Many laborers came from Britain as indentured laborers, signing contracts of indenture to pay for their passage, upkeep, and training with work, usually on farms. The colonies had agricultural economies. These indentured laborers were often young people who intended to become permanent residents. In some cases, convicted criminals were transported to the colonies as indentured laborers, rather than being imprisoned. The indentured laborers were not slaves, but were required to work for 4 to 7 years in states such as Virginia and Maryland in exchange for the cost of their passage and maintenance. The first Africans to reach the colonies that England was struggling to establish were a group of some 20 enslaved people who arrived at Point Comfort, Virginia, near Jamestown in August 1619, brought by British privateers who had seized them from a captured Portuguese slave ship. Colonists do not appear to have made indenture contracts for most Africans. Although it is impossible that some of them were freed after a certain period, most of them remained enslaved for life. The historian Ira Berlin noted that what he called the charter generation in the colonies was sometimes made up of mixed race men, Atlantic Creoles, who were indentured servants and whose ancestry was African and Iberian. They were descendants of African women and Portuguese or Spanish men who worked in African ports as traders or facilitators in the trade of enslaved people. The transformation of the status of Africans from indentured servitude to slaves in a racial case that they could not leave or escape happened over the next generation. The first slave laws. There were no laws regarding slavery early in Virginia's history, but in 1640, a Virginia court sentenced John Punch, an African, to life in servitude after he attempted to flee his service. The two whites with whom he fled were sentenced only to an additional year of their indenture and 3 years' service to the colony. This marked the first de facto legal sanctioning of slavery in the English colonies and was one of the first legal distinctions made between Europeans and Africans.
So this is the little short history of when the slave trade started. But notice that they keep saying African, African. So the thing that we have to make note of, that the people that came over here during the transatlantic slave transportations, we came from the continent of Africa, but we are not Africans. Though we're the same color people, we are a different nation of people. So by them saying African, that's a broad statement. It's just like America. Yeah, we call people Americans, but we have different nation or different people that is living in America. So the people that came over and joined the slave on them slave ships, they are actually Israelites, Israelite people. These are the tribe of Judah, which comprised of 3 tribes: Benjamin, Levi, and Judah. And they came over here on the slave ship via the transatlantic slave transportation. So they are not African, they are Israelites. And they have a saying too, when they were saying the Africans was catching other Africans and selling them to the Europeans. Well, not really, brothers and sisters. The Africans was capturing Israelites and selling them to the Europeans. The Africans were not catching their own people. They was catching another people. They was catching Israelites. So it looks like some of these cut off. Maybe you can kind of guess. So in August of 1619 through December 12 of 2019, that would have marked the 400 years of us being in America, 2019. But what we're going to do, we're going to go through the scriptures and see if, as I said, if the 400 years of Genesis 15 is actually talking about America, or if it's indeed talking about Egypt. So can you read this? We're going to see if we can guess what's the thing.
For many in the USA, 2019 is a momentous anniversary, insofar as it has been commemorated as marking the 400th anniversary of slavery and a slave-based economy. In 1619, 20 and odd Negroes arrived off the coast of Virginia, where they were bought by English colonists in Jamestown.
Mhm.
These captive Africans are often cited as the first enslaved people in the United States. While this was a momentous moment for Virginia and a horrific experience for the men and women in question, unfortunately, this is an oversimplification and overlooks the long history of slavery and colonialism in the Western Hemisphere.
So these brothers and sisters, as I said, they are not African, so to say, because everyone has a root. Everyone has a root. So what they do, because they took us off of the continent of Africa, they just bunch us together and call us Africans. All right. But they were indeed Israelites that came over on those slave ships. They were Israelites. Thus was from the southern kingdom in Jerusalem, the kingdom of Judah. So we're going to start this out in the book of Genesis 15, where the premise came from. Genesis 15, we're going to read 1 to 6 and 12 to 21. Genesis 15, we're going to read verse 1 to verse 6 and 12 to 21. Brothers and sisters, I urge you that you can get your Bible, get a book, get your pencil so you can jot down the scriptures, then you can go back to them in your leisure time. Sister Shanika, when you're ready.
All right, so it's Genesis 15, 1 to 6, and 12 to 21. After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abraham in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. And Abram said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is the Eliezer of Damascus?
Mm-hmm.
And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir.
So God is having a conversation with Abraham and telling him concerning his promise. So he's saying, I don't have any kids, but I have one that is in my house, Eliezer, which is a servant of mine. You can give this to him. Well, we listen and see what God is going to tell Abraham. Go ahead.
And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thine heir.
So he's saying, no, this Eliezer, who you're putting up front, is not going to be your heir. But one that is coming out of your own bowel, your own seed, is going to be your heir. But at this time, Abraham had no child, right? Go ahead.
And he brought him forth abroad and said, Look now toward heaven and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be.
Mm-hmm.
And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness.
So Abraham, at this time, Abra means father. Abra means father, and Ham means many. So Abraham's name is father of many. That's what his Abraham means, father of many. Go down to verse 12.
And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him.
Mm-hmm.
And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them. And they shall afflict them 400 years.
Mm-hmm. So now,
also,
brothers and sisters, what we want you to do, we want you to pick out some keywords because we want you to listen to this. This is Genesis 15 that we are reading. This is what this whole Bible study is about. Genesis 15. So it says, Know of a surety that thy seed will be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and they shall serve them, and they shall be afflicted 400 years. Go ahead.
And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards shall they come out with great substance.
So this is another key, brothers and sisters. This nation, they're going to serve for 400 years, and then they're going to come out. And that nation also I am going to judge. Go ahead.
And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age.
Mm-hmm.
But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again.
Mm-hmm.
For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full.
So now God is telling Abraham, in the fourth generation, they shall come back hither again. Where is hither? Where was Abraham? Abraham was in the land of Canaan. He was in the land of Canaan when he was having this conversation. So God is telling him, in the fourth generation, your seed that was in servitude will come back to this land, meaning the land of Canaan, right? Go ahead.
And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. Mm-hmm. In the same day, the Lord made a covenant with Abraham, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. So
unto thy seed I have given which land? He's talking about the land of Canaan, the same land that Abraham was having this conversation, that God say your descendants in the fourth generation is going to come back to this land. So right there now, brothers and sisters, we already kind of summarizing this 400 years that God talked about, right? He's saying the fourth generation, your seed, I'm going to judge that nation that had them in slavery, and they're going to come back to this land, the land of Canaan. Go ahead.
The Kenites and the Kenizzites and the Cadmonites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rephaims and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Girgashites, and the Jebusites.
So these are the nation that was actually in the land of Canaan, or in the land of Canaan, right? Because this land was owned by Canaan. Canaan is one of Ham's son. Ham is one of Noah's son, right? So let us carry on. Let's go to the book of Exodus, Exodus chapter 12, and we're going to read 33 to 42. Exodus chapter 12, and we're going to read 33 to 42. When you get it, my sister, is on you.
That's Exodus chapter 12, verses 33 to 42. And the Egyptians were urgent upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste, for they said, "We be all dead men." And the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading troughs being bound up in their cloths, in their clothes upon their shoulders. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses. And they borrowed of the Egyptian jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment.
So now remember in Genesis 15 that we was reading, that they said that we're going to come out of that land with great substance. Remember, that's the key. We're going to come out with great substance. God is going to judge that nation, right? And we're going to come back to the land of Canaan. So go ahead.
And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required. And they spoiled the Egyptians. So
now I'm going to read from the NLT, right? So you study sis, and I'm going to read from the NLT, that same verse 36, right? The NLT, verse 36. It says, and the Lord caused the Egyptians to look favorable on the Israelites, and they gave the Israelites whatever they asked. So they stripped the Egyptians of their wealth. Again, it said the Lord caused the Egyptians to look favorable on the Israelites, and they gave the Israelites for whatever they asked for. So they stripped the Egyptians of their wealth. Remember in Genesis 15, it said we're going to come out of that nation with great substance. So brothers and sisters, we came out of Egypt, our ancestors came out of Egypt with whatever they needed, right? So God really did strip the Egyptians of their wealth in favor of the Israelites, right? Go ahead, my sis.
And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot that were men, beside children. And a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough which they brought forth out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt and could not tarry, neither had they prepared for themselves any victual.
Go ahead.
Now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. So
now, this is another key. The thing is, it says, the sojourning of the children of Israel that were in Egypt was 430 years. Remember, brothers and sisters, when Joseph went into Egypt and the children of Israel came into Egypt, they were not in slavery. Because when they came into Egypt, they went into Egypt as guests to Pharaoh. They were living in the land of Goshen, and they were not being afflicted. It's not until after Joseph died, his brothers died, and a new Pharaoh came up. That's when the children of Israel went into slavery. So the first 30 years that they were in there, they were not in slavery. Go ahead.
And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the selfsame day it came to pass, that all the hosts of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt.
Go ahead.
It is a night to be much observed unto the Lord for bringing them out from the land of Egypt. This is that night of the Lord to be observed of all the children of Israel in their generations.
So this is why we keep the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread, brothers and sisters, because he said we have to observe this throughout our generations. Because when our children see that we are keeping these feasts and they ask, we have to be able to tell them the reason why we are keeping these feasts. So like you have people now that is saying the feast days them is done away with and we don't have to keep them. Brothers and sisters, that is not the truth. We have to keep them. People keep their birthday every year. Why are you keeping your birthday every year and are you being born every year? No, but yet people is keeping it. People keeping Christmas every year. Is Christ being born every year? No, but yet people is keeping it. So these feast days, God said we have to keep them as an observance for what happened or what he did for us when we were in the land of Egypt. We have to keep these feast days because this is how we are going to teach our kids and they teach their kids concerning the Lord, right? So we have to keep them. They are not done away with. Let us move on. You finished?
Yeah.
Right there. Let us go to Exodus chapter 1, and we're going to read 1 to 14. Go backwards to Exodus chapter 1, and we're going to read 1 to 14.
Exodus chapter 1, verses 1 to 14. Now these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin. Dan and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already.
Because this Joseph went ahead of them to clear the way. If it was not for Joseph, these people would not have survived. Because remember, Joseph is the one that interpreted the dream of Pharaoh, and Joseph is the one that actually saved Egypt from that famine, right? So everyone was coming to Egypt because of the famine for food, because Egypt was actually the only place that had food because of Joseph. So Joseph was second in command in Egypt. So that he was not in slavery at that time. When the children of Israel came into Egypt, they were not in slavery at that time. They was living good, right? Go ahead.
And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful, and increased abundantly, and multiplied, and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph.
So this is the key, brothers and sisters. There arose a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. Remember, Joseph died, and his brethren died, and that Pharaoh that showed favor to Joseph, he also died. So this is a new Pharaoh, brothers and sisters, who did not know of Joseph and what they did, right? So go ahead.
And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. So
do you hear what this new Pharaoh, what he is devising? So he is saying, man, these people, they are more than us. And now he started getting scared. He said, man, if a war break out, who knows? Maybe these people might turn against us and join themselves to those other nations. So we have to do something about these people. So what did he do? Go ahead.
Therefore, they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. So
now all these treasure cities that people are going to visit over in Egypt, Who built those cities? Who built these pyramids? The children of Israel is the one that did hard labor and built these places that these people is going now to sightsee, right? So now what he did, they afflict them with hard bondage and they built all the treasure cities. Go ahead.
But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew.
Mm-hmm.
And they were grieved because of the children of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor.
That means hard bondage, brothers and sisters. They made them to serve with hard bondage, hard slavery. Go ahead.
And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field.
Mm-hmm.
All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor.
So this now came from the new Pharaoh that came up. This was not happening in Joseph's time and the Pharaoh that was in Joseph's time. So these people were living, when they came in, that 30 years, they were living in Egypt as guests. They were not in slavery. It's not until the last 400 years, that's when they went into servitude. All right? Let's move on. Let's go to Genesis 46. Are we going to read 24 to 34? 26 to 34. Genesis 46, 26 to 34. Whenever you get it, my sis, is on you.
That's Genesis 46, verses 26 to 34. All the souls that came with Jacob into Egypt, which came out of his loins, besides Jacob's sons and wives, all the souls were 66. And the sons of Joseph, which were born him in Egypt, were two souls. All the souls of the house of Jacob, which came into Egypt, were 70.
Mm-hmm.
And he sent Judah before him unto Joseph to direct his face unto Goshen. And they came into the land of Goshen. And Joseph made ready his chariot and went up to meet Israel his father to Goshen and presented himself unto him. And he fell on his neck and wept on his neck a good while. And Israel said unto Joseph, now let me die, since I have seen thy face, because thou art yet alive. And Joseph said unto his brethren and unto his father's house, I will go up and shew Pharaoh and say unto him, my brethren and my father's house, which were in the land of Canaan, are come unto me.
So where were they?
In Canaan.
They were in the land of Canaan or Canaan. That is present day Israel or Jerusalem. That's where they were, right? So they came from the land of Canaan into Egypt, right? So that's why in Genesis 15, it says, when I judge that nation in the 4th generation, you're going to come out and you're going to return back to this land, which is the land of Canaan or the land of Canaan, right? And these two brothers and sisters, what we have to keep in mind, all of them were in Egypt. Jacob, 12 sons, all of them. Now I'm going to ask the question, did all of them come here to America? No, they did not. So if God is saying he's going to judge that nation that put them in slavery for 400 years, all Abraham's seed, the Caribbean is not this nation over here. That's a different people. The Caribbean, what happened to the slaves, the Israelite that went to the Caribbean? What happened to them that went to the Eastern Hemisphere? So it could not be talking about America because only the tribe of Judah came over here on those slave ships, right? I'm not saying that it didn't have, remnants from the other little tribe that probably made their way here, but as a whole, brothers and sisters, only the tribe of Judah came here, which comprised of Benjamin and Levi. So Benjamin, Levi, and Judah were the southern kingdom that came over here to the Western Hemisphere. Where are the other brothers? They were in the Eastern Hemisphere. So right there, brothers and sisters, we see that it could not be talking about America. But all of them were in Egypt. Right? Go ahead.
And the men are shepherds, for their trade hath been to feed cattle, and they have brought their flocks and their herds and all that they have.
Mm-hmm.
It shall come to pass when Pharaoh shall call you and shall say, what is your occupation? That ye shall say, thy servant's trade hath been about cattle from our youth even until now, both we and also our fathers, that ye may dwell in the land of Goshen. For every shepherd is an abomination unto the Egyptians.
Because the Egyptians didn't like shepherds. So that's why Joseph said, when Pharaoh asks you, what is your occupation? Just tell them that you're traders. Right? Let us move on. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 10, and we're going to read 12 to 22. Deuteronomy chapter 10. And we're going to read 12 to 22. Computer trying to catch up. 12 to 22. When you get it, it's on you.
Deuteronomy chapter 10, 12, verses 12 to 22. And now, Israel, what doth the Lord thy God require of thee, but to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul.
We read this everywhere. Whenever we come on the platform, we always read this. This is the same one that is in the book of Ecclesiastes. The whole duty of man is to fear God and to keep his commandments. Go ahead.
To keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good. Behold, the heaven and the heaven of the heavens is the Lord thy God's, the earth also, with all that therein is.
And this is talking or referring about Christ, brothers and sisters. Go ahead.
Only the Lord had a delight in thy fathers to love them, and he chose their seed after them, even you above all people, as it is this day. Circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart, and be no more stiff-necked.
And this circumcise the foreskin of your heart, brothers and sisters, is talking about your mind. It's talking about your mind. Circumcise your mind. Go ahead.
For the Lord your God is God of gods and Lord of lords, a great God, a mighty, and a terrible, which regardeth not persons, nor taketh reward.
And this is referring to Christ, brothers and sisters. Go ahead.
He doth execute the judgment of the fatherless and widow, and loveth the stranger in giving him food and raiment.
So God loved who? The stranger. The stranger. Why? Go ahead.
Love ye therefore the stranger, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. Thou shalt fear the Lord thy God, him shalt thou serve, and to him shalt thou cleave and swear by his name.
Go ahead.
He's thy praise, and he's thy God, that hath done for thee these great and terrible things, which thine eyes have seen. Thy fathers went down into Egypt with 70 persons, and now the Lord thy God hath made thee as the stars of heaven for multitude.
So let us move on. So we see that 70 came down in Egypt, all of the children of Abraham, all of them. So let's move on to Matthew's chapter 1. Matthew's chapter 1. We're going to read verse 1 to 6 and 17. Matthew's chapter 1, we're going to read 1 to 6 and 17. When you get it, my sis, it's on you.
That's Matthew chapter 1, verses 1 to 6 and verse 17. The book of the generation of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham begot Isaac, and Isaac begot Jacob, and Jacob begot Judas and his brethren. And Judas begot Phares and Zara of Thamar, and Phares begot Ezram, and Ezram begot Aram, and Aram begot Aminadab, and Aminadab begot Nason, and Nason begot Salmon, and Salmon begot Booz of Rechab, and Booz begot Obed of Ruth, and Obed begot Jesse,
So now remember, brothers and sisters, where did Rahab come from? Rahab came from Jericho. That was the harlot that was living in Jericho. And Boaz is the one that married to Ruth, right? So Salmon was with Rahab. They both got Boaz. Boaz married to Ruth. Ruth got Obed. Obed got Jesse. And from Jesse came who? King David. And from King David came who? King Solomon. Right? So from this harlot that they call harlot that was living in Jericho, David came out of her. Right? That's her loins. Go ahead.
And Jesse begot David the king, and David the king begot Solomon of her that had been the wife of Urias.
There you go. Skip down to 17.
Verse 17. So all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations. And from David until the carrying away into Babylon are 14 generations. And from the carrying away into Babylon unto Christ are 14 generations.
So this from Abraham to Christ were 42 generations. From Abraham to Christ were 42 generations. So remember how much generation that you say we are going to be before we return to the land, right? So Christ died 2023 years ago. 2023 years ago. So let us go to Genesis 15. We're going to read 14 to 16. Let's go back to Genesis 15 and we're going to read 14 to 16.
Okay, Genesis chapter 15, verses 14 to 16. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full.
So he said, is in the fourth generation we're going to come back or return back to our land, right? You can say in the fourth generation we shall return to our land. So brothers and sisters, we are in America. Why are we still here? Aren't we supposed to be back in our land? The 400 years is over. 2019. We're in 2023 now. Did God judge this land? Did we come out of this land with great substance? As a matter of fact, we are still in slavery up to now. So Genesis 15 could not be talking about America, because we are still in America and they're not even counting our families or brothers and sisters that is in the Caribbean. They're just talking about America. So we're still in America, we're still under bondage, we're still under the, our oppressors, and God has not judged this land and recovered us. We have not gone back to our land yet. This is 2023. So brothers and sisters, Genesis 15 again could not be talking about America. Let's move on. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy 26, and we're going to read 1 to 9. Deuteronomy 26, we're going to read verse 1 to verse 9.
Deuteronomy 26, verses 1 to 9. And it shall be when thou art come in unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance, and possesseth it and dwellest therein, that thou shalt take of the first of all the fruit of the earth, which thou shalt bring of thy land that the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shall put it in a basket, and shall go unto the place which the Lord thy God shall choose to place his name there.
And this is talking about the land of Canaan, brothers and sisters, when we came out of Egypt, right? Go ahead.
And thou shalt go unto the priest that shall be in those days, and say unto him, I profess this day unto the Lord thy God, that I am come unto the country which the Lord sware unto our fathers for to give us.
Mhm.
And the priest shall take the basket out of thine hand and set it down before the altar of the Lord thy God. And thou shalt speak and say before the Lord thy God, a Syrian, ready to perish was my father, and he went down into Egypt and sojourned there with a few, and became there a nation, great, mighty, and populous.
So when did we become a nation? When we were in Egypt. Israel became a nation in Egypt, brothers and sisters. We went in 70 strong and came out 600, over 2 million strong. We came out of Egypt. So we became a nation in the land of Egypt. Go ahead.
And the Egyptians evil entreated us and afflicted us and laid upon us hard bondage.
Mhm.
And when we cried unto the Lord God of our fathers, the Lord heard our voice and looked on our affliction and our labor and our oppression. And the Lord brought us forth out of Egypt with a mighty hand and with an outstretched arm and with great terribleness and with signs and with wonders.
So this is the nation that he judged, brothers and sisters. He judged Egypt for what they did to his people for 400 years. That's the nation that he judged. America is still going along with the everyday life. 1 and 2 people is dying, 1 and 2 people is going through tribulation. Hey, but such is life, brothers and sisters. But they're still going along. They're still killing our people. The police is still, as a matter of fact, we're going to even read that. The police is still killing us. We're still living under them. We still have to go to them for everything that we want. So where is the judgment? Egypt never recovered when we came out of Egypt. When our ancestors left Egypt, Egypt never recovered, never, up until this day. The people that is supposed to be in Egypt is the people that is in Egypt today is not even the original people of that land. Because God never stopped judging Egypt when we came out. So that's why in Genesis chapter 15, he said, that nation, I am going to judge them. So he took that land from them, from the original indigenous people of that land. So the people there now are strangers. Go ahead, my sis.
And he had brought us into this place and had given us this land, even a land that floweth with milk and honey.
Mm-hmm. So this is the land, Jerusalem, that he gave us, our God gave us. And we did not actually got that land fully until we came out of Egypt. We were just, Abraham was living on the outskirts of Canaan. And not until we came out of Egypt, that's when we fully inherited that land. Let's go to the book of Exodus chapter 3. And we're going to read 1 and then 4 to 17. Exodus chapter 3, we're going to read verse 1 and then we're going to read verse 4 to verse 17. When you get it, my sis, it's on you.
Exodus chapter 3, verses 1 and 4 to 17. Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert and came to the mountain of God, even to Horeb.
Mm-hmm.
And when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Draw not nigh hither. Put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground.
So this is Moses with the scene with the burning bush, all right? So the Lord appeared to Moses because he had a job for Moses to do. What was his job? To send him back to Egypt, to deliver the children of Israel. Go ahead.
Moreover, he said, I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon God.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. And I
have heard their cry by reason of their slave masters. Well, go ahead.
for I know their sorrows. And I
Mhm.
am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them out of the land, bring them up out of the of out, and to bring them up out of that land unto a good land and a large, unto a land flowing with milk and honey, unto the place of the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites.
So God now is telling Moses, I am going to bring them up out of the land of Egypt to bring them where? To the land of Canaan. That's where he told Abraham that he's going to bring his people to the land of Canaan, right? So we are still here in America. So this is not referring to us, it's referring to back then. Go ahead.
Now, therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel is come unto me. And I have also seen the oppression wherewith the Egyptians oppressed them.
Mm-hmm.
Come now, therefore, and I will send thee unto Pharaoh, that thou mayest bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. And Moses said unto God, who am I, that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt? And he said, certainly I will be with thee, and this shall be a token unto thee that I have sent thee. When thou hast brought forth the people out of Egypt, ye shall serve God upon this mountain. And Moses said unto God, behold, when I come unto the children of Israel, and shall say unto them, the God of your fathers hath sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, what is his name? What shall I say unto them? And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me unto you.
And this same I am that I am, brothers and sisters, is where they get the word or the name Jehovah. Jehovah is the same I am that I am. Yahweh is that same name that they got Jehovah, or YHWH. Yahweh is the same person. Yeshua is the same person. So Jehovah, Yahweh, Yeshua, YHWH, I am that I am, that all of these titles belongs to Christ, brothers and sisters. All of these titles belongs to Christ. So Christ is the same God that actually followed the children of Israel out of Egypt. Christ is the same God that sent Moses to Egypt to rescue the children of Israel. I am that I am is Christ. Right? Go ahead.
And God said moreover unto Moses, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, the Lord God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, hath sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations. Go and gather the elders of Israel together, and say unto them, the Lord God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob, appeared unto me, saying, I have surely visited you, and seen that which is done to you in Egypt.
So now the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is who? Is Christ, brothers and sisters. Christ is the God of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob. Go ahead.
And I have said, I will bring you up out of the affliction of Egypt unto the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, unto a land flowing with milk and honey.
So this is the same land of Canaan that God is telling Moses, I am going to send you to rescue the children of Israel, and you are going to bring them to this land, the land of Canaan, right? Again, brothers and sisters, we are still in America. Let's go back to Genesis 15 again, and we're going to read just one verse, verse 14.
Right, that's Genesis chapter 15
and
verse 14.
Mm-hmm.
And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance.
So the reason why we keep going back to Genesis, brothers and sisters, is so we can see the correlation with Genesis 15 and the land of Egypt. Did God judge Egypt? Yes, he turned Egypt upside down. He even killed Pharaoh's son and all the firstborn that was in Egypt. He turned that land upside down. And as I said, he never stopped punishing the land or destroying the land of Egypt until he got rid of the original people out of it. He turned it over to the hands of Nebuchadnezzar. He turned it over to Cyrus. Now, the people that is in there, they are Muslim. They're not the original people of the land. So where is the original people of the land? God took them out of that land for what they did to his people. Right? And he says, and we came out of Egypt with great substance, brothers and sisters. As we read, we spoiled or robbed the Egyptians of their wealth. Let us carry on. Let's go to Exodus chapter 12. Exodus 12, we're going to read 1 and 2 and 31 to 36. We're going to read the NLT. Can you get that, please?
Mm-hmm.
NLT. Exodus 12, 1 and 2, 31 to 36. It's on you when you're ready.
Okay, that's Exodus chapter 12, verses 1 and 2, and 31 to 36. And we're reading this from the NLT version.
Correct.
While the Israelites were still in the land of Egypt, the Lord gave the following instruction to Moses and Aaron. From now on, this month will be the first month of the year for you.
So now the first month of the year, brothers and sisters, is March, April. That's our first month. That is our new year. According to the Bible, January is not our new year according to the Bible. We came out of Egypt on the night of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. That's when we came out. On the Passover, we were still in Egypt. So we came out on the eve of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? So he said this month, that's when we keep the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread, shall be the first month of the year to us, right? Go ahead.
Verse 31. Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron during the night. Get out, he ordered. Leave my people and take the rest of the Israelites with you. Go and worship the Lord as you have requested.
So this is when God finally had enough with Pharaoh. This is when he felt good for what he was doing to Pharaoh, right? So now Pharaoh is telling Moses, get out, you and your people, and go worship your Lord as you said, right? Go ahead.
Take your flocks and herds as you said, and be gone. Go, but bless me as you leave. All the Egyptians urged the people of Israel to get out of the land as quickly as possible, for they thought, we will all die. The Israelites took their bread dough before yeast was added. They wrapped their kneading boards in their cloaks and carried them on their shoulders. And the people of Israel did as Moses had instructed. They asked the Egyptians for clothing and articles of silver and gold. The Lord caused the Egyptians to look favorably on the Israelites, and they gave the Israelites whatever they asked for. So they stripped the Egyptians of their wealth.
Their what?
Their wealth.
They stripped the Egyptians of their wealth. This is the great substance, brothers and sisters, that we came out with, that God told Abraham that I'm going to judge this nation and they're going to come out with great substance. We ain't got nothing in America. We're still struggling. And the 400 years is up. Why are we still struggling? Go ahead.
That's it.
That's it? Well, already. Let's not move on, brothers and sisters. Let's go now. So now, the 400 years in America was up in when? 2019, December of 2019. Now, in January of 2020, we're going to see how much our people were still getting killed. So from police in the US killed 164 Black people in the first 8 months of 2020. In the first 8 months of 2020, 164 Black persons was killed by police from January to April. So if the 400 years was up in 2019, and people are saying that that's when God gonna bring us back, we are still here and we're still getting killed. So brothers and sisters, we see clearly that the 400 years of Genesis 15 have nothing to do with America. Nothing. So you can read this, sis?
We have 26-year-old Jamari Tarver was killed by the North Las Vegas police. That's January 2nd, 2020. 25-year-old Tyree Davis died after police tasered and shot him, January 4th, 2020. 53-year-old Tina Marie DeVisa died after being tasered by a Spring Valley Police Department officer. That's January 5th, 2020. 27-year-old Brandon Deontay Roberts' apartment after a domestic incident involving weapons was reported. The officers claim Roberts advanced at police with a large knife, which prompted them to shoot him. That's January 5th, 2020. 17-year-old Kwame Jones was shot by police after a Jacksonville officer tried to pull him over for allegedly driving in the wrong direction. January 5th, 2020. 18-year-old Makia Lee was fatally shot by Sparks police after he had allegedly threatened to kill himself. January 5th, 2020. 47-year-old Claude Washington Fain III was fatally shot by SWAT officers after authorities say they attempted to serve a warrant for his arrest. It's January 9th, 2020. 37-year-old Earl Facey was killed by New York police officers in Manhattan after he was allegedly seen shooting another man. January 9th, 2020.
I'm going to call the dates. You read it and I'm going to call the dates. I'm going to help you.
47-year-old Henry Isaac Jones was fatally shot by South Georgia officers who said he was standing over a body in the street while holding a sawed-off shotgun.
This is January 11th of 2020.
49-year-old Ryan Sims was fatally shot by Miami police after he allegedly threatened staff at a cafe while carrying a butcher's knife.
This is January 11th of 2020.
29-year-old Keenan McCain was shot by Gary police who said they were trying to arrest him in connection with a murder.
And this is January 13th of 2020.
47-year-old Albert Lee Hughes was fatally shot by police after officers said they responded to a call that he was trespassing.
This is January 15th of 2020, brothers and sisters.
55-year-old Renard Antonio Daniels was fatally shot by a Cocoa police officer after allegedly attacking a woman with a knife at a park.
And this is January 15th also of 2020.
19-year-old Mubarak Suleiman was killed by a state police trooper who authorities said had suspected Suleiman of holding someone at knife point and stealing their car.
And this is also January 15th of 2020.
19-year-old Samuel David Mallard was shot and killed by Cobb County SWAT officers who said they had arrived at his home to arrest him because he was a suspect in multiple crimes.
January 17th, 2020.
42-year-old Kelvin White was killed by an off-duty Norfolk police officer who has since been charged with voluntary manslaughter. The officer said he showed up after his wife said she had a confrontation with White.
And this is a January 19th of 2020.
30-year-old Gamel Antonio Brown died after Baltimore County officers shot him with a taser.
This is January 21st of 2020.
23-year-old Darius Tarver was tased and fatally shot by a Denton police officer who police said was responding to a call from Tarver's roommate to help Tarver during a mental health crisis.
Just imagine, brothers and sisters, they're supposed to come and to try to help him and they kill him. This is January 21st of 2020.
20-year-old Reginald Leon Boston Jr. was fatally shot by Jacksonville police who said they had set up an undercover operation to find a man who robbed someone at gunpoint. Police had 3 suspects, including Boston.
This is January 21st of 2020.
32-year-old Michael Rivera was shot and killed by a Riverdale police officer who said he suspected Rivera of shoplifting.
Shoplifting, and he lost his life. January 23 of 2020.
32-year-old Andrew Smyrna was shot and killed by a Georgia State Patrol trooper after he was allegedly found driving a stolen car.
January 23rd again of 2020.
22-year-old DeAndre Lee Siboro Patterson was killed by Savannah police officers who said they were responding to a home invasion.
And this is also January 23rd of 2020, brothers and sisters.
29-year-old Marquise Golden was shot by Pinellas County Police.
January of 23, also, brothers and sisters. Oh my Lord. Clear?
34-year-old Joshua James Brown was fatally shot by Columbus police after he allegedly attempted to rob a Bob Evans restaurant.
And this is in January 25th of 2020.
19-year-old Avian Samaj Perkins was fatally shot by Aurora police after he was suspected of carjacking.
And this is January 25th of 2020. This is on my birth date, brothers and sisters. Go ahead.
43-year-old William Howard Green was fatally shot by a Prince George County police officer while he was handcuffed. Wow.
While he was handcuffed. January 27th of 2020. While he was handcuffed, brothers and sisters. What threat could he have done to the police being handcuffed? Go ahead.
20-year-old Jakin O'Neill Light was shot by Graham police officers who said they were attempting to serve a warrant to Light.
They were going to serve a warrant, and the man ended up dead. January 28th of 2020.
The 52-year-old Keith the Tree Collins was fatally shot by a Raleigh police officer who was investigating a report of an armed man acting strangely.
And this is up in the Carolinas. That's Raleigh. So this is January 30 of 2020.
15-year-old Abdirahman Salad was fatally shot by two Columbus police officers who said they were responding to a reported robbery.
So two of them shot him. This is January 13, 2020. So brothers and sisters, this is just in January, 1 month, January. And this is after the so-called 400 years, if this was actually talking about America. So after the 400 years, if God says he's going to judge the nation, so how are we judging the nation? By having them kill us? That's how we judging them? This is just in January. And look how much people we call. And this is the people them that I have. What about the people them that is not listed here? Brothers and sisters, we know that it's not talking about America, because America did not get judged. We are still in slavery. And we're in 2023. Who came over to America? The tribe of Judah on them slave ships, brothers and sisters. And that includes who? The 3 tribes, not 12. Remember, the 12 tribes was in Egypt. The 12 tribes did not come over here on them slave ships, brothers and sisters. The tribe of Benjamin, which includes Levi and Judah, they came over on them slave ships. So remember, in that time, Christ was there, Benjamin, and then the Levites, who was the Sadducees and the Pharisees. So let's see what tribe they came out of. Let's go to Hebrews 7. We're going to read 11 to 16. Hebrews chapter 7, 11 to 16. Hebrews chapter 7, 11 to 16. When you get it, Mrs. Izio.
We're going back to the King James Version, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Hebrews chapter 7, verses 11 to 16. If therefore perfection were by the Levitical priesthood, for under it the people received the law, What further need was there that another priest should rise after the order of Melchizedek and not be called after the order of Aaron? For the priesthood being changed, there is made of necessity a change also of the law.
So the priesthood being changed, they also must need a necessity to change the law. Go ahead.
For he of whom these things are spoken pertained to another tribe, of which no man gave attendance at the altar.
Because the other tribe that he's referring to now is the tribe of Judah. Remember, the priests came out of the tribes of Levi, right? Christ did not come out of the tribe of Levi. He came out of the tribe of Judah. So go ahead.
For it is evident that our Lord sprang out of Judah, of which tribe Moses spake nothing concerning priesthood. Because
the priesthood was from the Levites. Go ahead.
And it is yet far more evident, for that after the similitude of Melchizedek there ariseth another priest, who is made not after the law of a carnal commandment, but after the power of an endless life.
So now the Levites, they are not only now the priests, because God took down the Levites, the priesthood with the animal sacrifice, because only the Levites, which is the descendant, the sons of Aaron, were allowed to preach in those days. We don't know what tribe we are from over here. So why are all of us preaching? We don't know what tribe we're from, right? So let's go to Micah 5, 1 and 2. Micah 5, 1 and 2.
All right, that's Micah chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Now gather thyself in troops, O daughter of troops. He hath laid siege against us. They shall smite the judge of Israel with a rod upon the cheek. But thou, Bethlehem, Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me, that is to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting.
So the governor, the judge, the one is, now gather thyself, O troop, O daughters of troop. He that has laid siege against us, they shall smite the judge of Israel with a rod upon his cheek. So who is that judge of Israel? That is Christ. That's the one that got smite on his cheek. That's the one that got crucified on those crosses, right? Remember when those crosses were up, they had two other men on the crosses also. And those cross, brothers and sisters, we know that they are the Roman death symbols, right? So Christ that came out of Judah, which Moses spake nothing of concerning the priesthood. But now who is Christ? That's the same Melchizedek, brothers and sisters. Christ is the high priest. He is the judge. He is the Father. He is our God, our King, and our Lord. Brothers and sisters, that is Christ. And he came out of the tribe of Judah. Let's see what tribe Paul came out of. Let's go to Romans 11, 1 to 4. Because Paul was there in that time. Romans 11, 1 to 4. When you get it, it's on you.
That's Romans 11, verses 1 to 4. I say then, hath God cast away his people? God forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
So this is Paul is telling you what tribe he's from. He's an Israelite, but he's telling you what specific tribe that he came from, of the tribe of Benjamin. So Paul is a Benjamite, right? Go ahead.
God hath not cast away his people which he foreknew. Wot ye not what the scripture said of Elias? How he marketh intercession to God against Israel, saying, Lord, they have killed thy prophets and digged down thine altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life. But what said the answer of God unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal.
So now in every generation, Christ reserved a remnant of people or of persons who will be able to carry this word throughout the world. because this word cannot fail, because we need this word. The world need this word in order to get salvation. Without this word, no one of us can get salvation, brothers and sisters. So this is potent. So in every nation, Christ reserved a remnant of people that who will still be carrying this word. So Paul, he came out of the tribe of Benjamin. So Judah, Benjamin at the time of Christ, and let's see who those Sadducees and Pharisees that was running down behind a Christ, the one them who eventually put him on the cross. Let's see where they came from. So Hebrews 7, we're going to read 1 to 5. Let's go back to Hebrews 7. We're going to read 1 to 5. These are the Sadducees who was behind Christ, chasing him, and eventually they put him on the cross.
Hebrews chapter 7, verses 1 to 5. For this, Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, who met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him, to whom also Abraham gave a tenth part of all, first being by interpretation king of righteousness, and after that also king of Salem, which is king of peace.
And all these titles, brothers and sisters, belongs to Christ. King of peace, king of Salem. Salem is Jerusalem. King of Jerusalem and king of righteousness. Go ahead.
Without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like unto the Son of God, abideth a priest continually.
So no one, brothers and sisters, have this title other than Christ. Without father, without mother, without descent, having no beginning of days, no end of life, and make like unto the Son of God. This is Christ, brothers and sisters. No one else have this title. Right? Go ahead.
Now consider how great this man was, unto whom even the patriarch Abraham gave the tenth of the spoils. And verily, they that are of the sons of Levi, who received the office of the priesthood, have a commandment to take tithes of the people according to the law, that is, of their brethren, though they come out of the loins of Abraham.
So this is Christ, brothers and sisters, and the priesthood now, where did the priest come from? Out of the tribe of Levi. Let's go to Numbers 16, and we're going to read 1 to 10. The priesthood came out of the tribe of Levi. Numbers 16. We're going to read 1 to 10.
All right, that's Numbers 16, verses 1 to 10. Now Korah, the son of Izhar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, and Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On, the son of Peleth, sons of Reuben, took men. And they rose up before Moses with certain of the children of Israel, 250 princes of the assembly, famous in the congregation, men of renown. And they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron, and said unto them, Ye take too much upon you, seeing all the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Wherefore then lift ye up yourselves above the congregation of the Lord. And when Moses heard it, he fell upon his face, and he spake unto Korah and unto all his company, saying, Even tomorrow the Lord will shew who are his, and who is holy, and will cause them to come near unto him. Even him whom he hath chosen will he cause to come near unto him. This do, take you censers, Korah and all his company, and put fire therein, and put incense in them before the Lord tomorrow. And it shall be that the man whom the Lord doth choose, he shall be holy. Ye take too much upon you, ye sons of Levi. And Moses said unto Korah, Hear, I pray you, ye sons of Levi, seemeth it but a small thing unto you, that the God of Israel had separated you from the congregation of Israel, to bring you near to himself, to do the service of the tabernacle of the Lord, and to stand before the congregation to minister unto them.
So who did he separated? The sons of Levi. He separated to do the service of the congregation or the service of the tabernacle, right? These are the Levites. Go ahead.
And he had brought thee near to him, and all thy brethren, the sons of Levi, with thee, and seek ye the priesthood also.
So now, these three tribes was there when Christ came in the flesh. Levi, which was the Sadducees and Pharisees. Paul was there, which was the Benjamites. And Christ was there, which came out of the tribe of Judah. So Benjamin, Levi, and Judah was the only three tribes that was there when Christ came to the earth. The other 9 tribes had already gone into captivity. That's why they were referred to as the lost sheep of Israel. Those are the house of the lost sheep of Israel. So they did not come over on them slave ship with Judah. So only Judah came over here. So why is it that if all the seed's supposed to be in a land that is not theirs, and God is going to judge that nation, it cannot be talking, brothers and sisters, again about America, because not everyone came to America. Some went to the Bahamas, some went to Jamaica, some went to Trinidad, Antigua, the Virgin Island. They went all over. The slave ship was making stops all over the place. So not just America, but in Egypt, again, all of the tribes was in Egypt. All of them was in Egypt. So let's go to 2 Kings. We're going to do the NLT, 2 Kings 17. 2 Kings 17. After this, we have one more. Yes. 2 Kings 17. Second Kings 17 in the NLT. Let's see. We're going to read, brothers and sisters, from the NLT, the New Living Translation. When you get it, my sis, it's on you.
All right, that's 2 Kings chapter 17, verses 1 to 41 from the NLT version. Hoshea, son of Elah, began to rule over Israel in the 12th year of King Ahaz's reign in Judah. He reigned in Samaria 9 years. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, but not to the same extent as the kings of Israel who ruled before him. King Shalmaneser of Assyria attacked King Hoshea, so Hoshea was forced to pay heavy tribute to Assyria. But Hoshea stopped paying the annual tribute and conspired against the king of Assyria by asking King So of Egypt to help him shake free of Assyria's power. When the king of Assyria discovered this treachery, he seized Hoshea and put him in prison. Then the king of Assyria invaded the entire land, and for 3 years he besieged the city of Samaria. Finally, in the 9th year of King Hoshea's reign, Samaria fell, and the people of Israel were exiled to Assyria. They were settled in colonies in Halah, along the banks of the harbor river in Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes.
So this is very important, brothers and sisters. This is the northern kingdom, which is the kingdom of Israel, that was taken out of Samaria. So the people that was in Samaria, who were they? They were strangers. They were not the children of Israel, right? Go ahead.
This disaster came upon the people of Israel because they worship other gods. They sinned against the Lord their God, who had brought them safely out of Egypt and had rescued them from the power of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. They had followed the practices of the pagan nations the Lord had driven from the land ahead of them, as well as the practices the kings of Israel had introduced. The people of Israel had also secretly done many things that were not pleasing to the Lord their God. They built pagan shrines for themselves in all their towns, from the smallest outpost to the largest walled city. They set up sacred pillars and Asherah poles at the top of every hill and under every green tree.
So hold on. So the verse 10, it says they set up sacred pillars and Asherah poles. So brothers and sisters, I want you to take a look at the screen here. These are Asherah poles. And these modern time, the modern time Asherah poles, brothers and sisters, do y'all know what of them? So these Asherah poles is the same form as the steeples that is displayed on top of all these churches. So all of the churches, they got Asherah poles on the top of them, right? Do you know what that represents, brothers and sisters? It represents sun worship. Sex in the Bible and the church steeples, a brief history of pagan rituals and tradition carried into the Christian church. So these steeples that is on top of the church, they represent sun worshiping. You can find these steeples, one of them, the obelisk in Washington, D.C. This is one here in New York. This is one here in London. This is one here in Rome. So what does this Asherah pole and thing represent? It represents the phallus. It represents the phallus, the man's penis. That's what it represents. So the pagans then been worshiping these pagan idols for centuries, brothers and sisters, and they come all the way down, and now they're displaying on top of the churches. 90% of the churches them have these steeples on top of them. They come from sun worshiping. All right? Let us go back. Let's continue.
Verse 11. They offered sacrifices on all the hilltops, just like the nations the Lord had driven from the land ahead of them. So the people of Israel had done many evil things, arousing the Lord's anger. Yes, they worship idols, despite the Lord's specific and repeated warnings. Again and again, the Lord had sent his prophets and seers to warn both Israel and Judah. Turn from all your evil ways. Obey my commands and decrees, the entire law that I commanded your ancestors to obey, and that I gave you through my servants, the prophets. But the Israelites would not listen. They were as stubborn as their ancestors who had refused to believe in the Lord their God. They rejected his decrees and the covenant he had made with their ancestors, and they despised all his warnings. They worshipped worthless idols, so they became worthless themselves. They followed the example of the nations around them, disobeying the Lord's command not to imitate them. They rejected all the commands of the Lord their God and made 2 calves from metal. They set up an Asherah pole and worshiped Baal and all the forces of heaven.
So now they said they rejected all the commands of the Lord and made them 2 calves. Didn't they get in trouble for building these 2 calves in the wilderness? Yes. As a matter of fact, a lot of them got killed because of that. And you see, the same way they went into the land and they're doing the same thing. They build them calves in the land. The same Asherah poles them, they rear up these poles and worship their gods and in these poles. These are idols, brothers and sisters. Go ahead.
They even sacrificed their own sons and daughters in the fire. They consulted fortune tellers and practiced sorcery and sold themselves to evil, arousing the Lord's anger. Because the Lord was very angry with Israel, he swept them away from his presence. Only the tribe of Judah remained in the land.
So no, only who remained?
Tribe of Judah.
The tribe of Judah, which consists of Benjamin, Levi, and Judah. Those 3 tribes were the only one, which is the southern kingdom, had remained. The northern kingdom, which is the other 9 tribes, God took them out. Right? Go ahead.
But even the people of Judah refused to obey the commands of the Lord their God, for they followed the evil practices that Israel had introduced. The Lord rejected all the descendants of Israel. He punished them by handing them over to their attackers until he had banished Israel from his presence. But when the Lord tore Israel away from the kingdom of David, they chose Jeroboam, son of Nebat, as their king. But Jeroboam drew Israel away from following the Lord and made them commit a great sin.
Jesus.
And the people of Israel persisted in all the evil ways of Jeroboam. they did not turn from these sins until the Lord finally swept them away from his presence, just as all his prophets had warned. So Israel was exiled from their land to Assyria, where they remain to this day.
So Israel was exiled, which is the northern kingdom, the kingdom of from Samaria. They were exiled by the Assyrians. They took them out of that land. Go ahead.
The king of Assyria transported groups of people from Babylon, Kuta, Ava, Hamath, and Sepharvaim, and resettled them in the towns of Samaria, replacing the people of Israel. They took possession of Samaria and lived in its towns. But since these foreign settlers did not worship the Lord when they first arrived, the Lord sent lions among them, which killed some of them.
So now we need you to pay attention to this, brothers and sisters. So the people now who they placed in the land, they did not understand the laws of the God of that land. So what they're doing, they was worshiping their gods when they came into the land. God sent lions to start killing them. So what did the king of Assyria did? Let's read. Go ahead.
So a message was sent to the king of Assyria. The people you have sent to live in the towns of Samaria do not know the religious customs of God of the land, of the God of the land. He has sent lions among them to destroy them because they have not worshipped him correctly. The king of Assyria then commanded, send one of the exiled priests back to Samaria. Let him live there and teach the new residents the religious customs of the God of the land. So one of the priests who had been exiled from Samaria returned to Bethel and taught the new residents how to worship the Lord.
So that's the reason why the woman at the well, brothers and sisters, the Samaritan woman at the well, when she was talking to Christ, she was telling Christ, Jacob, our fathers worship at this mountain. Why was she referring to Jacob as a father? That's because the Israelite priest went back and was teaching them about the God of the land. So that's why she was saying Jacob, her father, but Jacob was not her father, right? Go ahead.
But these various groups of foreigners also continued to worship their own gods. In town after town where they lived, they placed their idols at the pagan shrines that the people of Samaria had built. Those from Babylon worship idols of their god Sukkot Banat. Those from Kuta worship their god Nergal. And those from Hamath worship Ashima. The Avites worship their gods Nibhaz and Tartak. And the people from Sepharvaim even burned their own children as sacrifices to their gods Adramelech and Anamelech. These new residents worshiped the Lord, but they also appointed from among themselves all sorts of people as priests to offer sacrifices at their places of worship. And though they worshiped the Lord, they continued to follow their own gods according to the religious customs of the nations from which they came. And this is still going on today. They continue to follow their former practices instead of truly worshiping the Lord and obeying the decrees, regulations, instructions, and commands he gave the descendants of Jacob, whose name he changed to Israel. For the Lord had made a covenant with the descendants of Jacob and commanded them, do not worship any other gods or bow down or bow before them or serve them or offer sacrifices to them, but worship only the Lord who brought you out of Egypt with great strength and a powerful arm.
Worship only the Lord that brought you out of Egypt. Who brought Israel out of Egypt? Jesus. Christ is the one that brought us out of Egypt, brothers and sisters. So he said, be careful. He said, the Lord, but worship only the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt with great strength and powerful arms, and bow down to him only and offer sacrifice only to him. Christ is the one that brought Israel out of Egypt. Go ahead.
Be careful at all times to obey the decrees, regulations, instructions, and commands that he wrote for you. You must not worship other gods. Do not forget the covenant I made with you, and do not worship other gods. You must worship only the Lord your God. He's the one who will rescue you from all your enemies.
And who is the rescuer? Who is the redeemer? Christ is the redeemer, brothers and sisters. Christ is the Redeemer. Go ahead.
But the people would not listen and continued to follow their former practices. So while these new residents worship the Lord, they also worship their idols. And to this day, their descendants do the same.
Until this day, the descendants do the same. So the people that was living in Samaria at the time of Christ, when Christ came in the flesh, they were not the Israelites. That's why Christ had told them, don't go into none of the cities of the Samaritans. Only go to the house of the lost sheep of Israel. So Christ went to them? Yes, he did. When before Christ leave, what Christ says, go ye into all the nations and preach the gospel. Because when Christ was there, Christ was equipping them to send them amongst all these nations. So this maypole dancing, we do this in the islands. In the Virgin Islands, we do this. We used to do this since elementary school. We used to do this. This is a form of the same Asherah poles that the Bible speaks about. What they're doing, they're dancing around the Asherah poles, which is their god. This is one of the god, Baal. When we dance around these poles, brothers and sisters, these things are forbidden by God. So a lot of things that we think that is simple and is nothing, in God's eye, it is everything. That's why God said, don't worship no other gods before me, none. Let's go to the last one, Luke 19. We're going to read 28 to 48. Luke chapter 19.
We're going back to the King James.
Yeah. Luke chapter 19. We're going to read 28 to 48.
All right, that's Luke chapter 19, verses 28 to 48. And when he had thus spoken, he went before, ascending up to Jerusalem. And it came to pass, when he was come nigh to Bethpage and Bethany, at the mount called the Mount of Olives, he sent two of his disciples, saying, go ye into the village over against you, in the which at your entering ye shall find a colt tied, whereon yet never man sat. Loose him and bring him hither. And if any man asks you, why do ye loose him? Thus shall ye say unto him, because the Lord hath need of him. And they that were sent went their way and found even as he had said unto them. And as they were loosing the colt, the owners thereof said unto them, why loose ye the colt? And they said, the Lord hath need of him. And they brought him to Jesus. And they cast their garments upon the colt, and they set Jesus thereon. And as he went, they spread their clothes in the way. And when he was come nigh, even now at the descent of the Mount of Olives, the whole multitude of the disciples began to rejoice and praise God with a loud voice for all the mighty works that they had seen, saying, blessed be the King that cometh in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven and glory in the highest. And some of the Pharisees from among the multitude said unto him, Master, rebuke thy disciples. And he answered and said unto them, I tell you that if these should hold their peace, the stones would immediately cry out. And when he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it, saying, if thou hast known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes.
So now when Christ was coming into the city and he saw the city, what he did? He wept over it. Why is this, brothers and sisters? Christ had already seen or know what was going to happen to Jerusalem in 70 AD. When the Roman general Titus came into Jerusalem, he tore it down to the ground. And he put them in slavery. And these are the three tribes, brothers and sisters, the kingdom of Judah that came over here to the Western Hemisphere. Where is the other 9 tribes that came over on this side? They did not. As again, I say, I am not saying that 1 and 2 of the other tribe didn't find a way over here, but they did not come over here on the transatlantic slave trade, that they are in them cargo ships, in the belly of those ships. The kingdom of Judah did, which is the 3 tribes, Benjamin, Levi, and Judah. Right? Go ahead.
For the days shall come upon thee, that thine enemies shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side.
And that's when the Romans built the trench around Jerusalem to keep them in. So no food or water could have go in, and none could have come out. So what was the last saying? Oh, we were saying, oh, the trench, they built a trench around Jerusalem because they wanted it. The Romans, they could not break the wall to go in, because them Jews, they really built that temple. They really built up that thing around Jerusalem. So what they did, they went to starvation tactics by digging a trench around it, so no one could have come in or go out. So what they did, they actually built a wall around Jerusalem. So that Wailing Wall that you see them people just go by to do the ritual, that wall is not part of the original temple. That wall was part of the wall that they built around the temple to keep them in, right? It is not part of the temple itself. Okay, so let us continue. Where were we? Where we have stopped?
We're at verse 43.
Okay, go ahead.
For the days shall come upon thee, that thine enemies shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side. And shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children within thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knewest not the time of thy visitation. So
here it go, brothers and sisters. It says, the day shall come when the enemy shall cast a trench around thee. So what they did, as I said, they built a wall, a fort around. So what they did, they kept them in, so no one could have come in and go out. So by when they know when the food run out inside and they can't get no food, what the Israelites they was doing, they started eating the children. So when I said the parents, the mother was hiding the children from the father, so they don't eat them. So Israel was eating the children to survive. You check? And he said, and they will lay you even with the ground, meaning they was killing us. So that's how the Romans eventually got to Israel to take them down. And this happened, brothers and sisters, in 70 AD, right? 70 AD, that's when they actually tore Jerusalem down to the ground. And they say it was not one stone left upon another. So if the Bible said there was not one stone left upon another, where did that Wailing Wall come from that they over there just be doing the ritual? That cannot be part of the temple, because the Bible says no stone will be left upon each other. So that was part of the wall that they built around to keep them in, right? That Wailing Wall. Go ahead, sis.
And he went into the temple and began to cast out them that sold therein, and them that brought, saying unto them, it is written, my house is the house of prayer, but ye have made it a den of thieves. And he taught daily in the temple. But the chief priests and the scribes and the chief of the people sought to destroy him, and could not find what they might do, for all the people were very attentive to hear him. So
this is the lesson, brothers and sisters. So we see from the lesson, from the scriptures them that we brought forth, that is no way that the 400 years could be talking about America. No way that the 400 years could be talking about America. The 400 years was talking about Egypt, not America. All of the tribes were in Egypt. All of them were in Egypt. All of the tribes did not come over here. only Benjamin, Levi, and Judah came over to the Western Hemisphere on them ships. All right. So this is the lesson, brothers and sisters. I hope that we had some understanding. I hope that it was edifying to the hearers. The information, brothers and sisters, is on the screen. You can take a screenshot. This is the information. Like, subscribe, share, like, subscribe, and share. Again, my name is Brother Moses. My reader today is Sister Shanique. And we are Israel, the Lord's vineyard. Sister Shanique, you want to close with the prayer? You know about the prayer? The All Father prayer. It is the Luke. Or we could, you know, we could read Ecclesiastes 12, the 13 and 14 again, and we could close
Okay.
with that.
Okay. Amen. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verses 13 and 14 reads, "Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil."
So this we pray to you, brothers and sisters, in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
We thank you for your participation, brothers and sisters. We hope that we see you again, and we thank you for your time. Okay.
Stop recording.